Hey, ladies and gents, and welcome to episode 7 of the Controlled Interest Gamecast, where we talk about video games and everything going on in the industry. As always, I'm joined by Jordan.
What is up, dudes?
And Dominic.
Good afternoon, Jared.
So, we're going to be getting straight into the news, guys. The first story comes by way of Jason Schreier over at Kotaku. If you didn't hear, Blizzard was hit with multiple DDoS attacks. They're never a good thing for any company to have to endure. If you have a Blizzard account, make sure you reset your password just in case any security breaches happened. But Jason Schreier writes, players couldn't log into games like World of Warcraft and Diablo 3 for several hours last night, thanks to a series of DDoS attacks that flooded Blizzard's servers. The developer said, Blizzard says they've since thwarted the problem, though some login issues could linger this morning. DDoS, which stands for Distributed Denial of Service, refers to an intentional torrent of traffic that's designed to cripple a company's servers. I'm not going to go into the rest of that definition, but Blizzard had a statement stating, these attacks are just flooding our internet tubes. No actual account information, payment information, or character data is at risk, said Blizzard support agent Glaxygrav. I guess that's his code name. Even though he says this, personally, I suggest you guys go and reset your passwords and get all that stuff set, because a lot of times these companies think that things weren't accessed when in reality something can happen a couple of months from now where everybody's information got out. So just for your safety, whether or not the information did get out, I highly suggest resetting your passwords just for your safety. What are you guys' thoughts on this crazy DDoS attack that Blizzard had to endure?
Well, for one, I think that's good advice, Jared. It's really not even a bad idea to just reset your passwords every now and then anyways. So
no matter what, yep.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this these past couple of years with all these attacks happening, especially like the Christmas attacks on both PlayStation and Xbox. Are they ever going to figure out a way to stop these? I get the fact that, it's kind of just like a traffic jam via the internet, but it's almost like I feel as though they could see what, if they were monitoring the system, they could see what's happening and then shut down certain channels to keep them from coming through. I don't know. It's just, these are starting to happen often enough. I'm wondering if people start figuring out ways to stop them.
It's crazy to me that these hackers, or whoever it is, that basically they're outsmarting these giant companies.
Right? Oh yeah.
Like every time, each time the company learns, whoever it is, how to prevent that, or get that same type of thing.
Yeah.
Then a couple of months later, there's a new vulnerability is found somehow.
And they do it with such a primitive style too.
I think it's a preventative thing, right? So like being able to pay these guys to prevent these kind of attacks, like getting people to make an infrastructure that's a lot safer and secure, costs money. And I think a lot of times these companies are, instead of what's the worst that can happen, and they don't take those kind of measures to get that kind of security. And then once something happens, then they do the whole hindsight thing of then they pay for the added security and fixing,
Yeah.
It's like when you go to like a cheap like convenience store and they get robbed and you're like, oh, of course you got robbed. You didn't have any security cameras. Then from that point on, guess what they have installed? Security cameras. It's kind of like they try to save money to the point where they have to spend money. I agree with you. These attacks have been happening way too frequent. It's crazy that somebody like Blizzard was attacked. I mean, nobody's safe, but Blizzard is a big enough company that you would assume that they'd have some kind of safety measures in place, especially with their whole like Battle.net system. Like, people access that system specifically to launch games, and when these kind of things happen, it takes down everything. It's kind of like nowadays, if you don't have your console set for Xbox anyways, if you don't have your console set to be your home console, if some kind of infrastructure goes down or your internet personally goes down, you can't play any of your games. So these, especially in a day and age where everything's online, these attacks need to be reduced, greatly in order for, everything to move forward, I think.
Well, even more so for PlayStation. I was just thinking about that before you brought it up with Xbox, about the home console thing and being able to play offline with digital games. But on PlayStation, even if it is your primary console and, if you turn your PlayStation on without ever having it hooked up at the time, then you're not going to be able to play your downloaded digital games because it has to authenticate with the server every time you try to get into these digital files. So there's not even a solution on PlayStation, and I know I'm all digital on my PS4 and Vita, so if I don't have internet, then I'm basically screwed.
I think, especially since we're in a day and age where everything is going digital, this needs to be a huge concern.
Jordan, so apparently there's a setting that you can go in and manipulate.
Okay.
Basically make that not an issue. So that's there. So there is a way to turn that off, I've heard recently.
Okay, let's talk about that later. I need to know.
Yeah.
So our next story is about Stardew Valley, the everybody's favorite game on PC. People are flocking to this game. They love it. It's drawn comparisons to, you know, Harvest Moon and Animal Crossing and all these games people love. It actually sold 1 million copies. The story comes over from Game Informer via Javi Gwaltney, 100% saying his name wrong. And it's surprising that this game sold 1 million copies. People love this game. I wasn't sure if this was a game that was going to sell very well. I thought it was going to be a game that people loved, but necessarily maybe didn't get commercial success. I don't know how well Undertale sold, but people loved that game as well. So basically what he states is if there's one thing the last 2 months has taught people... people love farming. Tangling with townfolk and fishing, okay, maybe not so much that last part. A lot of them apparently, since publisher Chucklefish Games just reportedly confirmed to Polygon in an email that Stardew Valley has sold over 1 million copies since its launch on February 26th. According to the email, the exact number is 1,007,000. Though the game is PC exclusive right now, creator Eric Barone revealed to us a while back that he wanted Stardew Valley on consoles as soon as possible. So, it seems like they're taking the Minecraft approach. You know, a game sells really well on PC, obviously has a huge thought share. If you put it on consoles, it's probably going to sell just as well. This seems like a game that'll sell very well. It's very accessible. It's very kid-friendly, which also helps with sales. I could definitely see this game. Nothing will ever reach Minecraft numbers the same way, but I definitely think this game's going to be a success on consoles. I'm really intrigued because this game has caught my attention. What do you guys think? Do you think this game can match its numbers when it releases on consoles? Are you surprised they hit 1 million copies, period?
Yeah, that's a huge surprise. I mean, I knew everyone loved it, but 1 million's pretty solid just on PC, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it has potential to blow up on consoles, I think.
And this is sold. There are plenty of people who have pirated this game, you know, just how the industry is. This is sold, so...
The one thing I definitely want to shout out is the fact that the company's called Chucklefish. I really like that.
Right? That's awesome.
And then, other than that, I've just been... Ever since this game came out, all over the internet, people have been talking about it, making videos about it, playing it, loving it, so... Yeah, it's definitely a success story. I like to hear that.
Jordan, imagine if this was on Vita.
I could do that. See, like, I've been looking at it, and I've been saying, it looks all right, but it's not necessarily what I want. But that is what I want on Vita. That would be awesome.
I think it'd be cool, you know. I think it could thrive on mobile platforms. It will sell on consoles, and people will play it. But it seems like a game that's digestible enough in short spurts that it beckons mobile, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see this thing on 3DS in its vast library. I would love to see it on Vita as well. It's just cool, you know, when people make awesome games, the more people it can reach, the better, right? If you know, there's plenty of people who don't have gaming PCs or PC that see this game and they're like, oh, I would love to play that game. I love playing Harvest Moon on my GameCube that only 3 other people owned. Like, I loved, you know, I love these type of games. And now that it's going to be coming to consoles, hopefully more people will be able to play this game that millions or a million people loved. So now we're getting deep into the E3 news as far as conferences being announced. We have 2 conferences being announced and some leaks. So the first press conference reveal is from IGN, and it comes from Chloe Rad, and she basically talks about how Microsoft's announced their E3 press conference times. No surprise, they're taking one of the earliest times. On Monday, June 13th, they're going to be having their presentation at 9:30 Pacific Time, 12:30 Eastern Time. So a nice little lunch there for you guys on the East Coast to be able to enjoy this announcement. Not too surprising. They have a lot of announcements. I'm interested to see what exactly is going to be for their press conference because, you know, a lot of these individual companies are having their own press conferences, so it's kind of interesting what they're going to show. They have their exclusives like Recore, Crackdown 3, Halo Wars 2. Are you guys excited for those games? I know neither of you guys... Well, Jordan, you own an Xbox One, but you guys are more PlayStation guys. Are you interested to see what Microsoft has to show this year at E3?
I think there's something we don't know about. I mean, we already have PSVR announced. Probably NX is going to be announced at this time. Where does that leave Microsoft? I mean, obviously they'll have plenty of games to show, but I think there's something hardware-wise that Microsoft is going to pull out of their back pocket that no one's going to see coming. I have no idea what it is. I don't think they're going to have their own VR headset or anything like that. But
it works. They have HoloLens, but I think they learned last year that just showing HoloLens and then letting it be until it actually is viable for commercial use. I don't think that will be there. It'll be there in some capacity, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be a conference hit. And if anything, it's going to be a murmur, like a little 5-minute kind of thing. I do agree with you that there might be something that we don't know about. Phil Spencer said they're not doing the Xbox 1.5. I agree with you, though. It seems like in a year where we're going to be having potentially the PS4K announced, obviously PSVR, and then the NX, unless they take the route of all games, like, that's what people want. That's what people shit on Microsoft for, is they didn't talk about games enough. Do you think they'll just be games, Jordan? Do you think that's going to be their pitch? Do you think they're even going to have hardware?
Well, I definitely think we're going to get a lot of Gears 4 at E3 from them.
Yep.
That's going to be their big point. But other than that, I hope we see more of Recon. I hope we see more of the Platinum. What's the Platinum exclusive that they've got?
Oh, Scalebound?
Scalebound, yes, which has been delayed till next year, but I still think we should at least see it at this E3. Yeah, I definitely think there's something that we don't know about, because Recore is probably not coming out this year. Scalebound's not coming out this year.
Halo Wars 2 might come out this year.
Yeah, that'll be something big at their conference, but then, like last year, Fable Legends was there, and that's obviously not going to be a thing this year, so...
Rest in peace.
Yeah, I think Microsoft's going to have some stuff that we don't know anything about. Phantom Dust is another one that would have been there that isn't going to be there this year. Yeah,
definitely. So, Microsoft has... Well, they'll probably have something up their sleeve. All these companies do. Another company, and this comes by way of GameStop, from Timur Hussein, definitely saying that name wrong again. Ubisoft has announced their E3 press conference, and it'll be taking place at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. So 3 hours after the Microsoft press conference. There's not going to be any Assassin's Creed this year. There's going to be rumors of obviously Watch Dogs 2 and stuff like that. Tom Clancy's Wildlands. There might be something with The Division, some kind of substantial DLC. I don't know. Also, South Park: The Fractured Butthole. Greatest name. And a game that I've forgot about the last couple of episodes we've been talking about, Ubisoft, For Honor. The sword fighting game, which looks beautiful. So they have, Monday, June 13th, 12:30. They have the save the date. What are you guys most looking forward to with Ubisoft? I know there's not going to be an Assassin's Creed game this year, sadly. Jordan, I know that really breaks your heart. Yeah. But, what else are you guys looking forward to? Do you guys think they'll have, like, their Ubisoft indie art kind of game? Their Ubi art games?
Well, now, the whole Assassin's Creed thing, if it wasn't the Assassin's Creed franchise, we know it's not coming out this year, probably next fall. But, if that was like a new Far Cry game and it wasn't coming out this year, they would probably still talk about it at E3,
They
right?
might show something.
Yeah, I guess I was wrong in saying that there won't be anything. There will definitely be a teaser.
I don't think you're necessarily wrong, because, they may not want to take up time with Assassin's Creed if that's not even coming out this year and they have games coming out this year that they could show. But, for most publishers, I would say, oh, well, we've got this game coming out next fall. Let's show it at this E3. So I think it's kind of just a weird situation with the whole Assassin's Creed deal. It could go either way, I guess.
Real quick, I think Bethesda's changed the landscape of these announcements with the way they handled Fallout 4. I think that they saw the fervor that people had for a game being announced and being launched the same year, a couple of months later. Yeah. Like, I think they noticed that people are getting tired of this, oh, yeah, that's the game I saw 2 years ago, Watch Dogs. I think that people definitely just want to see stuff and then play stuff. And I think a lot of these companies are starting to realize that, and they're coming to terms with, we don't have to show everything. We can show the things that are coming soon, and when we want to show the things that are coming out sooner, then we can show them then. I think Bethesda did a huge thing to change the landscape of these announcements. Sorry, though, what were we going to say, Dom?
No, I think you're right. I think that's the route they're going to go with Watch Dogs 2. I mean, we've said it before, and that being said, they're going to jam it down our throats at this E3, right? Because they're going to want to make up as much of the missed, marketing time they would have had if they announced it earlier. So yeah, if that's happening and it's happening this fall, then there's going to be a ton of Watch Dogs 2, and it'll probably be playable, and they'll have demos, and I would imagine that's how that's going to go. Personally, though, I'm most excited for something from South Park. Stick of Truth was awesome, and it was hilarious, and just you saying the title of this exactly, just you saying the title made me chuckle. So I'm pumped for that.
I think in order from 1, 2, 3, I think the biggest things will be Watch Dogs 2, then For Honor, then South Park, and then after that, you'll have like Division DLC and stuff like that.
Well, people are sleeping on the Ghost Recon game, Wildlands.
Yeah, that's true. I keep forgetting about that because that's another thing you were talking about, like when games are mentioned at E3 and then you don't see them for 2 years. That's kind of, this Ghost Recon game is kind of like that, where last year we see it at E3, like this CG trailer, and then they just don't say anything for the entire next year.
Yeah, I think that it looked cool. As a CG trailer, it looked cool. I still don't know what it is. It's Ghost Recon, so it's going to have an audience, obviously. It's Tom Clancy, so it's going to have an audience. I just want to know what the whole Wildlands thing is. I love the games like Destiny and Division. Like, I've spent numerous hours in Division, and I love those games. But I don't want it to get oversaturated because it's enough time sinking time into those games to get anything good. I just don't want this to be a trend where it's these games you have to pour so much time into, and it's not from a point of like Fallout 4 of getting more and more of a solid experience. It's I need to play to level up to get this gear so I can fight this thing, so I can do this,
Yeah.
A breadcrumb of stuff, and I hope it's more of like the old Ghost Recon games, but we'll see. Ubisoft, they make a lot of good games. Recently they've made a lot of good games that actually work at release, which is good. I think we'll see some kind of like Mass Effect Andromeda-esque thing where it's maybe an image, maybe we get a title, maybe we get a picture of the main protagonist, not his face obviously, but like his assassin getup. It might be something super minimal, where it's enough of a tease. But like we stated, I don't know if necessarily that's something they want to do with the way audiences are changing the way they want these announcements to be made. The last thing is with Nintendo's announcements this year. It came by way of the Know over on YouTube from a couple of sources. You can find them all over the internet through Reddit and Twitter. Basically, a confirmed source has come out and said, and she's been right about a lot of other things with Nintendo, that the NX launch lineup will be The Legend of Zelda. It'll be a port of Smash. She says those are definitive. Those are 100% going to be two of the launch titles. There's two other games that are going to be in the launch window. They could be launch titles, but depending on how fast they're ported over, they could be launch window games. And that is Super Mario Maker and Splatoon. Splatoon sold over 1 million copies, right? I believe it did. It's one of the better selling games on that system. And, so it's basically going to be port the launch. Obviously, there's going to be some other titles that we don't know about that are going to be, NX exclusives. But it seems like a lot of these, or majority of these launch games are going to be ports. How do you guys feel about this? How do you think the Nintendo fans who bought the Wii U and having to give into this new console are going to feel that a lot of the games at launch are just going to be ports of games they already own?
Well, and I mentioned this last week or 2 weeks ago talking about even if it is only 10 million people that have Wii U's, they're still going to feel burned when the NX comes out and this console's only been around for 3 or 4 years. And they have to buy a whole new console, all new games, or, remastered version of the games they just bought for Wii U. They got to buy all new accessories and all this stuff. It's like, man, those people are going to be pissed. And those are the people that were the hardest of hardcore Nintendo fans.
Yeah. Dom, you had a point about these games being ported over, that it could give indication as to the NX's controller and stuff like that.
Right. So assuming Mario Maker and Splatoon, now that I think about it, I guess Splatoon could function with a regular controller though. But Mario Maker for sure, if that's ported over, that kind of confirms that there's going to be some sort of touch input on their controller, right? Yeah. Otherwise, that game doesn't really work the way it's intended.
Well, so another rumor in this actual video is talking about, the whole thing, people are speculating that this works in congruence with a mobile device. The rumor is that people have been thinking about this as being the controller that comes with the console. And they're thinking that maybe this isn't the case because Nintendo has gone so fully into the mobile realm that your phone will work with your console. Kind of like a Bluetooth-esque kind of way. And they're saying that it could possibly just have a good controller, normal controller, and that the touch input functions that could work with your console could be via your cell phone, your smartphone that you have. So it's an interesting way to look at it. It doesn't get in the way of gamers who want to game normally. From this source, they were talking about third-party ports, and I guess in the works apparently are a lot of these companies are porting over games to the NX, and a lot of them can come as early as 2017. Obviously, that's a little bit out, but if the NX launches at the end of 2016, it's going to only be a couple of months, 3 to 4 months maybe, of some games coming out and being ported over. The fact that there's a rumor, if this rumor is true, that people are porting over games and there's going to be a third-party library, that means that Nintendo's moving in a better direction. They actually, from this report as well, they changed their, I don't know the exact wording. Basically, the way the games are coded and everything, and the way the system was built, Nintendo always has an issue with third-party people porting games, right? Because it just doesn't work, I guess, the way the consoles are built. Now I guess they're using something that both the Xbox and the PlayStation use, so it's making porting 100% easier. It's making it easier on everyone involved. What do you guys think about this NX supposedly getting huge third-party support? Do you think it'll help it?
Well, yeah, it absolutely needs it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they launch another Wii U, then what's the point? I mean, yeah, they need the third-party support, absolutely. If, like, from the start of this generation, the Wii U had that, and the Wii U is at least a little bit more powerful. It wouldn't necessarily have to be on par with Xbox and PlayStation, but think about what that library would look like with your NX or your Nintendo exclusives and all the third-party games. I mean, to me, if that were the case, then for me personally, that would be the console I'd want to be at. The exclusives alone on Xbox and PlayStation don't stack up to the exclusives on Nintendo. For me, anyway.
Yeah, and that's barring that they have a normal controller, right, that, like, works and functions.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
What are your thoughts, Jordan, on this whole thing?
They need the third-party support. They had that with Wii, especially, and even a little bit with Wii U. But like you said, they were, the games had to be ported over and made a little bit different. So, versions of Madden on the Wii were different than versions of Madden on the 360 or PS3, things like that. And now they can just be the game that they already are on a different console.
Yeah, 1-to-1, not having to change it drastically, like...
Right.
Yeah.
Like the whatever special edition of Batman Arkham City and stuff like that, where it just, like you said, wasn't 1-to-1. But like I've mentioned before, man, these Nintendo NX rumors are just starting to kill that console, and Nintendo... I know they're just waiting around for E3, but I'm thinking that's almost going to be too late because all these rumors are just floating around in people's heads, and eventually it's just going to get to the point where no matter what they do is not going to be good enough, and they need to control the message now, and they're not, and I think they're shooting themselves in the foot.
If these games are I doubt it'll only launch with 2 games, but say Mario Maker and Splatoon are launch window, not launch games, and it just launches with Smash and Legend of Zelda. As much as I love Smash and as much as I love Zelda, that doesn't constitute me buying another console. And honestly, at this point, I don't know what they would have to announce for me to want to buy another console. It'd have to be something crazy. I don't know. It just... These rumors, like you said, are going on and on and on, and I think there comes a point, if a lot of these rumors are true, you have to control that message. Instead of waiting for your Nintendo Direct, get on the ball and say, hey, we have to make a Nintendo Direct this week or next week. We can't wait 2 months. We can't wait a month.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Reggie and those guys see this stuff, and they're like, this is all, obviously, if stuff is true, they're like, these people are hearing about this stuff from other people. And they're basically, when you hear about something from somebody else instead of hearing from the source directly, the story is going to be different. And even if it's the same story, all the facts are correct, the way you word it means everything, right? So I'm pretty sure Nintendo has a way of wording this which can make it seem a lot better than a random source on Twitter. I wouldn't be surprised if all this stuff is true, that we hear about a Direct happening soon if Nintendo's smart, and we don't know if they're going to be. So...
You know,
I
this
know.
just goes back, though, to last year when they decided to make the announcement of the NX without telling you anything about it. And my God, if that wasn't one of the stupidest decisions they've made in the last 10 years. Like, we're working on another console. Go talk about it amongst yourselves and make up all these huge expectations inside of your head. We have no information on it for you right now, so just keep guessing until you get the announcement in a year and a half. Like,
But is that worse than no one talking about Nintendo at all and then being irrelevant as the Wii U fades away and games? You know what I mean?
maybe, but I think they could have just come out with a bang this year and said, you know what, we screwed up with the Wii U, but we got your game console that you want to play with a real controller right here, baby. But no, they're like, just tell you that it exists and then allow you to figure it out on your own and look at all these, like patents and rumors from the industry and developers, and it's just right now it's a mess, and they haven't even showed you don't know anything about it, and it's already a mess.
So before we get in too bad of a mood and before we jump into the other topic, let's talk about what we've been playing this week. I have been playing Dead Space. Finally, it's about damn time. I'm through chapter 3, which is you're getting right past the hospital wing and stuff like that. It's actually going to be my topic later on in the show. I've been playing Division, been grinding in that a little bit with my friends, and I've been playing Smite as always. I've got all 8 gym badges in Pokemon Yellow. Awesome.
Nice. Did
and,
you get that Abra?
Yeah. I ended up
Nice.
catching it and getting my Mew. Took me a little bit, but I actually just did what you said, and I just went and bought a bunch of Pokeballs and just threw it until I caught one.
It works.
Yeah, so Dead Space was fantastic. Just been really chill. Been watching Daredevil, season 1. I want to get to season 2, and I thought it was going to be a labor of anxiety and stuff getting through the first season just to get to Punisher, but first season's pretty good. I like it. What about you guys? What have you guys been playing?
Well, I have actually not been playing much. Like I said last week, I played a ton of games the week before last, and a little bit of everything. But also, my topic later on is going to be Battleborn Beta, which I've played a little bit of that. Messed around with several different characters, so we'll get into that later. Other than that, I really haven't played this week. Like I said, just been doing other stuff, I guess. What have I watched though? Right now I'm watching Banshee. Have you guys ever heard of Banshee on Cinemax?
Nah.
Nope.
That's a really cool show. It's about this guy who gets out of jail and goes to this town called Banshee in Pennsylvania, and ends up watching this new sheriff that just rolled into town get murdered, and then decides to take over the persona of that sheriff and become the sheriff of this town.
Naturally.
And he totally does it in like a vigilante Wild West fashion. Like, since it's a small town, he kind of just has his own rules of law and does things the way he pleases and beats the crap out of criminals and stuff. So been watching that. That's a recommendation from me because I like that show a lot.
Awesome. What about you, Dom? What have you been playing?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jared. It is that time of year, April. It's time for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And my friend, the Detroit Red Wings, are in a critical matchup with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, Game 1 didn't go so well for my boys, but we're going to bounce back in Game 2 tomorrow night. Other than hockey, I finally am able to get back into Dark Souls, in the vein of Dark Souls 3.
Yippee.
Which just came out this week, so that's going to be my topic later in the show, so we'll get into a little more detail about it then. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome. So, that's what we've been playing this week. Hey guys, Jared here, and thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button, and if you really like us, hit that subscribe button so you can be tuned in and updated whenever we upload a new video. If you haven't been following us on Twitter, that's CTRLINT, @Controlled Interests. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next one.